If your team is overwhelmed, your priorities are unclear, and AI is being thrown at every problem, this episode is your answer. Today, I'm joined by Marcy Comer, CMO at EagleView. With 26 years leading marketing at Amazon, Fortune 500s, and high-growth startups, she's still in the trenches. And she's here to give you a no-fluff playbook on managing up, cutting through chaos, and deploying AI without blowing up your operations. Marcy doesn't just theorize. She builds, scraps, pivots, and delivers. You're going to want to take notes on this one. Welcome to the No Limits Leadership Podcast. We discuss ancient wisdom, real-world experiences, and the latest concepts on mastering leadership of self and others. If you're committed to maximizing your life and your impact on the world, you're home. Welcome to the No Limit Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Sean Patton, and today I am very excited to be joined by Marcy Comer. She is the Chief Marketing Officer at EagleView, where she leads marketing strategy and brand growth. She brings over 20 years of experience across companies like Amazon, high-growth startup Dosh, and multiple Fortune 500 organizations. Known for turning complex challenges into clear growth strategies, Marcy is a leader who builds high-performing teams and helps businesses scale through change. Marcy, thanks for being on today.
Thank you, Sean. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this. You've led in so many different areas. You've had success in so many ways. And what I really love is on this podcast, to be honest, and a lot of podcasts, right? It's like who is ever like on their book tour. It's like a thought leader or like a theorist a lot or something, like our coach or something, which me being a coach. And I love having on this podcast, people who are still quote unquote in the trenches, right? Like you're operationally running companies right now. And so I can't wait to learn from you.
Boy, howdy, am I in the trenches.
Yeah. You're telling me before we recorded that you just came off a major product launch, right?
Yeah. So I think it was last week. It's been a blur. At this point, honestly, I don't even really know what day of the week it is because it's been so crazy. But we just launched our Agentic AI solution, which, every company out there is trying to launch right now. So you can imagine the focus and the effort behind it. And it will be the biggest launch of our year. It was a crazy experience, but I'm really excited.
That's so interesting. So tell us a bit about EagleView.
Yeah, sure. So we are like 25 years old, and we started with high resolution aerial imagery that's captured from airplanes. So a lot of people think of us and think that we're satellite, and that's couldn't be further from the truth. And the important factor here is that it comes from airplanes, which enables us to get 1 inch or better imagery. And then when you have imagery across 96% of the United States and Canada, then you're able to extract insane data from that. So we build, 3D twins because we capture the imagery from two different angles, both ortho and oblique, create those twins, and then extract all levels of data from it. So anyone that's interested in making sure that their properties or their assets are functional or want to learn more about their assets, then they will use EagleView to understand.
Stop. You can't afford to keep operating this way. You're a smart, successful leader, and right now you're stuck. You know it. And that feeling, it's not weakness. That's data telling you something needs to change. Here's the truth. Saying stuck isn't neutral. It's costing you mentally, professionally, every single day. After 10 years coaching C-suite level executives through exactly problems like this, I have built the GAIN framework, and it delivers clarity in just 20 minutes. Sign up for the No Limit Leadership newsletter and get the Unstuck Guide free. The link is in the description. 5 seconds to change everything. Do it now. Very interesting. I imagine, how do you keep that data updated?
So we capture, up to 2 to 3 times per year, depending on the area and catastrophes that occur. So sometimes we'll fly an area that's been hit by a tornado or a hurricane or a big flood or a wildfire, like the Palisades, and so that imagery is updated, and then all of the data attributes are refreshed as a result.
Interesting. Wow. Well, I'm sure we'll get more into that, but I want to hop right into leadership, because the interesting part about your career is it hasn't just been at either large companies or very established companies like you're at now. You've also been at startups. So you've sort of seen companies at different phases and different styles of leadership required. And so we'll start off, maybe what are some of the biggest differences that you see between effective leadership at early stage companies versus middle versus more mature?
So I like to say that I've marketed everything from hot dogs to APIs, which is very true, and from all different kinds of companies, B2C, B2B, B2B2C, private equity, publicly traded, startups, the list goes on. And the one thing that matters the most is having a sense of curiosity and problem solving. So you want to be on the forefront of actually building and looking at sort of new technologies to find the green field. And those that do that on a consistent, transparent basis are the ones that are successful. It's the ones that are sort of like worried about taking the next step. That's where you get into deep water.
And how does that play out as a leader with getting buy-in for your teams? One of my favorite phrases is that people don't hate change, they hate ambiguity. And so I'm wondering how that comes across for you when it comes to, we're going to have a culture. It sounds like from you is that a culture of excitement around change and constant change. I would imagine at more mature companies, tell me if this is right. My guess is that at early stage companies, everyone's sort of expecting that, like, yeah, we're going to change, we're going to grow, we're going to do new things. Cool. And then it's like some sort of like inverse scale. The bigger you get, the more you get employees that are like, here's my job role, I'm going to do this thing. And, almost protectionism around like what their role is.
I've experienced it to be pretty pervasive regardless of company type. And it's just really, I think, it's a personality type. People will get into startups not understanding the level of agility that's required. And you got to like sort of take them with a fish and be like, come on, let's go, Not really. I'm not doing that. But
I'm getting insight into what your one-on-ones are like right now, Marcy.
No, certain people, athletes, love that approach. Other people do not so much. But really, especially in the world of marketing, I mean, you have to be wanting and interested in changing at all times. I mean, for marketing, I started my career in 2000. I graduated from college in 2000, and like what I did back then versus what I do now is they're two different careers, it feels like. And so I look for sort of that interest and curiosity when I hire. And for people that I inherit that don't inherently have that skill set, I just make it part of their goals, and it's mandatory. And if you're not doing that, it becomes really obvious pretty quickly. And it's just like, this isn't the right environment for you. If you don't want change, I suggest that you go work like sort of a steady job. Maybe go work at a hospital or something where things don't change dramatically in terms of your job scope. But if you're in technology, get ready for it because it's changing every week,
Yeah. So what does that look like in practice in terms, I'm really interested here on, like, you talk about setting as a goal. Okay. So their goal is going to be, change. And one thing that I have seen with, clients and companies I'm involved with, and with my wife's company, when I see her work, and she's in tech as well, is it's like sort of, here's the things we need you to continue to do all this stuff. And by the way, like, here's AI or here's this other change. So like, make sure you go figure that stuff out too. And it's just like all thrown together, but it's not like, wait a minute, I had 40 hours doing this job. Now you want me to go figure out this other thing. Like, where is the leadership? What have you seen work in terms of like giving space and time and clear direction around like what embracing new change and evolution looks like?
Well, at the end of the day, if you nail the top 3 things that your boss really cares about, you're going to be A-okay. And in order to do that successfully, I mean, the company owes it to the employees to be really clear about what their priorities are. We do a really great job at EagleView of this. And more so than I've seen at other companies, but also in your sort of one-on-ones with your manager. I do this with my boss, who's a CEO. I'll be like, these are the 3 things that I'm focused on. Let me know if there's something else that you want me to like do instead, but this is what I'm going to nail for you in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Good. All right. I'm going to go do it. And then I go do it. Right. And so my boss, your manager, gets used to that rhythm and that trust that you're going to communicate what's important, what you're working on. It's up to them to validate that. And you're going to consistently deliver on those 2 to 3 things. I mean, you're not a robot yet. So you can only deliver what you can deliver. And theoretically, you're delivering those 2 to 3 things because it's not a big number and at a high level. And everyone knows that's what you're going to do. And that seems to always work out, And honestly, there's been times where my boss will call me up and be like, okay, now I need you to do this. And I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to do this and this and this, right? Right. All right, we're moving on. Or I tell them, like, I really think that we should move this project to the back burner so I can focus on these other two projects. Do you agree? And if they say no, the other one's important, that's when you put your ask in. So that recently happened to me, right? So I had a request from the very, very top to get a product launch over the line in a very short period of time. And we know the old adage, like good, fast, or cheap. And truly you could only pick two in this time frame that I was given, right? And so I think that they're gonna want to pick good. So that leaves cheap. And so I asked on the spot, I'm like, if in order of I gotta deliver this in this period of time, it's gonna require an incremental investment of X. And my boss was like, good, go do it. And so I got approval, was able to deliver that. But it's all about sort of transparency, constant communication, and then trust that you're going to deliver what you say you deliver. If you say, I'm going to go do these 2 to 3 things and then you don't do them, then like, what's the point in even communicating? You know, we're especially in this day and age where there's lots of talent out there. We're looking for people that can consistently deliver.
I have so many notes from this I want to get into. I heard a few things there I want to call out. One was this concept of leading up. Like, don't wait for them to tell you what's important. Go say, hey, based on what I'm seeing out here in the company, I think these are my 3 priorities, yes or no, right? Like not waiting to be told what to do. No. And I was actually recently having a discussion, you know, as we continue as AI and other things in technology in the market changes, my opinion, and feel free to disagree or revise, is that if you're the type of person who expects to show up to a company and be told what your role is and what success looks like, and here's your steps 1 through 10, and you're just going to execute, you will not have a job in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of always been true. And I learned this by screwing up. Okay. Like I have not always known this. I've had jobs where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not really sure like what I should do next. And then I kind of like screw around doing random things. And then it feels like my boss isn't happy, but we're not communicating about that in a transparent way. And then it just always goes south. I've learned, and maybe it's from its experience of and getting confidence in the work that I do. But if I can just say this is what I'm working on, just tell me right now if it's not right, so that I don't spend another cycle disappointing you. You know, that seems to work out a lot better, and also it puts them on the hook for what work that you're doing. Now they have expressed buy-in. And so they are also culpable, responsible, accountable, get the credit for the work that you are doing. And that seems to help a lot. I think it's so critical because, you know, how many times do people sort of like, they have this meeting about what's important, what's going on, like, okay, well, let's go do stuff. Or like, here's next steps, but there's next steps, but there's not like, sort of a wrap up around commitments, right? Well, so that's the language I would use in my coaching firm and with my clients. Like, hey, we just talked about a lot of stuff. Okay, what are you committing to after this? You know, say I'm committed to, like, what I'm hearing you say is that these are the top 3 priorities and they're going to be done by this date. Like we're tying in a bow and adding clarity at the end of the conversation, and that power of leading up. What I'm hearing is like, that is the critical step that maybe we're missing, running on to the next thing instead. Yeah. I mean, have you ever, this has happened to me. So have you ever had to like follow up with an employee like 3 times about something?
Oh yeah. Totally.
That sucks, right?
Yeah.
And you automatically know that they're not long for the company when you get to that point. And so I feel like sort of that constant communication, that in writing, these are the things I'm going to do in your weekly update. And like, if I'm missing anything, let me know. You'll catch those sort of misses because sometimes you do forget. Like there are like a million things that they've asked you to do, and you will forget something because you're working on those top 3 things. And that's the opportunity to sort of catch those before they get bad. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, like how great does it feel as a leader when someone comes to you and they're like, right, like, hey, Marcy, hey, Sean, here's just understand, like, I'm working on these things, here's what's going on. And like, you didn't ask for it. By the way, I solved this problem you didn't even know existed. You're like, oh, like when that happens, it's like I feel like I get lighter. Like I start like floating around the room. Well, for me, I like to be managed sort of like autonomously, like trust that I'm doing the stuff. Just leave me alone and let me go do it. I don't like, constant check-in really. And what I found is for those employees that do that for me, I leave them alone because that's how I trust that they're doing the work, Exactly. Like you seem to have the ball. So go just keep playing. And for the ones that aren't doing that, I'm like digging in and kind of annoying them. So it's like you get to choose the game that you play. I prefer for my boss to leave me alone. But I mean, if you like it, feel free. Yeah. If you want your boss nagging you, I don't know if your boss likes nagging you though.
So that's a critical component of what you had said earlier. And then the other part that I'm going to call out is like the recognition, sort of top down of like work and load management.
Yeah.
And I've actually worked with leaders that struggle with this. I've challenged them that to not just assume that people know that, hey, these things are important and these things aren't, but actually, like, when you give them new tasks or ask them new things, also tell them what you're taking off. Okay, we're
Yeah.
going to do this. And by the way, we're not doing these things. I'm taking these away from you, and just like publicly and proactively acknowledging the fact that you're recognizing there's a trade-off of like what's important. And
Yeah.
I wonder if you've seen that done well or seen implications of that or how you do that.
Well, at some point, the middle manager has to push back, and you can push back. We talked about this already. Like, you can push back in a variety of ways. You don't have to say no. You can say, I can, but I need this also,
Okay.
but you owe it to your directs and, your organization to understand their capacity, I mean, by hours, but also mentally. And then ask for what you need in order to deliver. I have not seen very frequently a high level executive hear someone say, like, I need X or Y to get it done, and them saying, no, just do it with what you got. Like, I've never really seen that. I've seen them say more often, optimize what you have to get the desired result. And that makes a lot more sense, right? That means that I can shift dollars away from something or redirect headcount to something or delay timeline. But well, I have seen it, but very rarely have I seen just a flat out do it with what you got, because it's just not possible most of the times. And as a manager, I'm not saying this to be like difficult generally. Like, it's truly an obstacle to achieving your desired goal. So, I want to be transparent about that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Man, so you mentioned there are sort of, you've never seen this in senior management. You've also, as you've moved up in organization to these different levels, there's obviously transition. You mentioned middle management, individual contributor, all that stuff. So like, as you had these different transitions, either by sort of levels of responsibility or by market or size of company, what have been like the hardest transitions for you through your career?
The hardest transitions, I think managing people is the hardest part because you're not in their brain. So for me, sometimes there's like doubt about what's really happening. And, like, I understand completely where I am personally, like what I'm going to do, what kind of level of effort I'm going to put into it, why I'm doing that. But other people have their own stuff going on. And I found, sort of like, as I started moving into managing people and the relationships started changing, I think I found that to be kind of difficult. And it still is pretty difficult because you can't demand something out of someone. I mean, it's just, they're human. Like, they're going to do what they're going to do at the end of the day. And so I find that kind of hard. I think, but sort of in the work world of different types of work and different types of environment, the hardest place to be is at a startup, because the expectation is, in exchange for the equity that you're getting, that you are like, act like an owner, which means you work all the time, all the time. And the expectation, when I worked at my first startup, in my interview with the CEO, the founder, I asked him, because I was coming from Amazon. So this is why I had this question. When you call me and I don't answer, how long do I have to call you back? What's the expectation? And the response was 5 minutes. And that wasn't like, I wasn't surprised by that answer, because that's what Jeff Bezos expects you to respond. But I knew what I was getting into. And I got calls 10:30 p.m., Thanksgiving Day, every weekend, like nights, all the time. And I couldn't really complain because I knew what I had signed up for in the interview. But it's challenging, and for someone that I've always been sort of in technology and marketing and sort of running brands. But when you switch from sort of an environment like that, and your whole life sort of becomes this startup with an unknown sort of reward happening, because you never know how much you're actually going to get if you're successful. And in the unlikely event that you're successful, it's really hard. So you have to know what you sign up for.
And how did those transitions shape your leadership identity?
I think mostly it just made me extremely transparent about what's expected, because I feel like operating and ambiguity is too hard. And if I look you in the eye and I tell you exactly what I'm expecting and you don't do it, then there's a level of understanding there, right? You have the opportunity to tell me that you can't do it. But if you say okay and then don't do it, then I know what we're working with. And so, and likewise, as an employee, to my manager, I do the same thing. It's just, I feel like you're just way better off, no matter how painful the answer might be, to be extremely transparent and ask the question, get the response, say the response as the manager, truly how it is, and then you can move on from there. And like an example of that is if I expect you to answer my phone call in 5 minutes, or I expect you to be working on weekends, then I want to know that. I want you to know that. And you tell me you can't do it. And then we can move on, or I can put you in some other role where I don't need you working weekends.
Have you noticed any change in that type of expectation in terms of responsiveness or commitment or working hours in the last 5 or 10 years versus early in your career?
For me, or generationally?
Generationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's way different. I'm Gen X. So I feel like I came up, my parents are baby boomers. I came up in like a work hard, grind it out culture and just make it happen. And I feel like the newer generation, they're much more apt. Oh, also, I never talked about my feelings. And the new generation,
Did you even know what they were?
no, I'm currently working on understanding my feelings.
Yeah. Same.
The newer generation, they lead with their feelings, and no compunction about sort of telling you exactly what the business is. And it's shocking for me. And it's been hard. That's been sort of hard to deal with too. Sort of be like, are we speaking the same language? Do you like want a job, or you want to like clock in and out? Like, what is it? And maybe my definition of job is wrong now, but that's been really difficult.
Yeah. How are you navigating uh the shift in culture, and are you finding yourself challenging maybe some of your patterns of thought that you grew up with in terms of what's right and wrong required?
Yeah, the way that I'm navigating it is just leaning right back into communication and telling folks, sort of like asking them, this is a new trick that this old dog has picked up, but I
Okay.
ask them sort of like, what's going on? Is there something going on that I don't know about? Like, are you okay? Do you need to tell me anything? Like, what is happening? And sort of open that door for them to tell me stuff. And then I actually do learn things. Like they're more willing to tell you what's happening versus like me, I'd be like, absolutely nothing's wrong, while I squeeze my hand so I don't cry.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With the
And
tissues outside the camera, just like waiting.
yeah, uh, I mean, it's like I was literally taught by my mom how not to cry at work. Like that's one of the things I learned growing up. And now, like, if someone's gonna cry, like feel free. You're not hurting me, like I want to know what's happening. Like if you've got something happening at home, like please tell me so that I'm not, grinding on you at work and we can work something out and I can just shift something to someone else or I'll pick it up and do it. Like just let me know because my priority is frankly to make revenue, So
Yeah.
you can't do it. I want to know so I can do it or someone else can do it. I mean, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And I'll happily take the information.
Yeah. How are you approaching your own journey of trying to get more in touch with how you're actually feeling, your intuition versus, shut that part off. We're just like logic braining our way through work every day.
Well, no, I still logic brain through work I don't know.
Oh,
What are you
okay.
talking about? What's feeling intuition? No, I'm working on that for like being a mom because,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have kids and they come in, they have all these emotions. Like the way that I was taught was like, what's happening here? And, w- I, and I shut it down, like I just keep it moving, but that doesn't work with kids. And so sort of learn through being a mom, talking to my kids that there's a lot of applicability to people in the workplace and sort of dealing with big emotions and things not being perfectly right. So that seems to help too. And that's funny thing about life is sort of every new experience, everything new thing that you learn, there's applicability in all these weird places that I never really thought about. And it's been sort of fun. So I've been working in post college now for 26 years and the way that I've worked has changed. what I work on has changed, although it's still the same stuff. Like I'm still trying to get people to buy stuff, but like the teams, the org structure has completely changed. How we make money has changed. How people buy stuff has changed. So the only constant is sort of change and people. And so making sure that, we maintain relationships, that we have fun while we're at work, that we like the people that we're working with. Those are the things that help me get through these 26 years, and hopefully 20 more, or maybe not. Maybe I'll make a lot of money and not have to work for 20
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. One of these startups kicks off and you're ready to go. I'm with you on that. So yeah, it's like, I love there as you talked about you evolving and changing, and also like creating clarity out of ambiguity in terms of communication between people. But one of the other things that you specialize in is taking these like complex org challenges and and making them into clear executable strategies as they scale. So like on the org side, how do you approach large problem sets to try to create order and systems out of it so you can attack it?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. And especially depending on your organization, you may not have bodies to fill every gaping hole. And so you got to hire for skill. And so we're not looking to bring on, a super junior person to tackle a big problem. It's got to be someone that has done similarly complex challenges in the past and is able to cross-functionally across the organization. So as like our organization has completely transformed, right? From an aerial imagery only company to now we're an AI company. We're an AI and data company. And so the skill set of the organization has to change along with that. And in order to do that, you have to identify what we're doing now versus what we've done previously. Talk to your team and figure out like who wants to grab this ball versus the other ball. What are the skill gaps that we have that we need to train for? And then assign that out, bring back the learnings, and continuously as an organization keep learning and then shifting the balls around depending on what happens. Because the change is so dramatic and so fast from a company, from a technology, from a marketing tactical perspective, I feel like we are like a basketball team. And we're just constantly evaluating where the other players and the ball is on the field. And we're pivoting and moving to sort of pick up the next play. That's how it feels like. I don't know if you're an athlete or something, but there's a lot of commonality between sports and business.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. And in so many different ways. I played a lot of sports growing up, but I was an individual sport guy. So I got into wrestling growing up. I wrestled in college for 2 years. And then I don't know if we talked about this, but I actually co-own 2 jujitsu gyms in Nashville.
Okay.
So,
Well, very similar.
Yeah.
You're
So it's like,
anticipating the next move.
yes. And you're setting things up ahead of time, and
Yeah.
the person and the techniques are always changing. And I think the biggest, not to go to jiu-jitsu rat hole, but like, but the biggest thing that you get in a lot of sports, and especially in jiu-jitsu, is just the ability to make decisions during discomfort. Like
That is
being
so
completely,
true.
yeah, like not necessarily, you're in the most uncomfortable situation you could possibly imagine, and like how can you stay calm and like solve the problem in front of you?
Yeah. Do you find yourself, I mean, I don't want to interview you, but do you find yourself sort of like compartmentalizing? So like you shut off, let's say the pain or the discomfort and try to like trigger your thinking brain?
Probably, but I don't think of it as like shutting off. I think of it's like prioritization. So it's more of like a proactive versus like a reactive. Like I'm going to shut this off to go here. It's more just like and this is actually a conversation I have with younger or like new to jujitsu people, is like what really separates, and this is, I think, applies to business as well, is when you have less experience, one of the reasons that it feels overwhelming and stressful is because you're like unable to actually identify like what is important and what isn't.
Yeah.
And so everything feels important. And so you're like, oh my God. And so you see a white belt just like freaking out and there's like a million things going on, and like, and this, and this, and this. And they get done like, oh. Then you see like, a black belt or someone who's trained for a long time and you're just like barely breathing because you're like, I know that like your elbow going here and not going here is the one thing that's stopping everything else. Like, I'm just going to focus on that. It's like everything else is just noise. And so being able to see that is really, I think, the benefit of experience in that sense. And then also inside of business as well.
Yeah. Honestly, when I have people on my team that are in that freak out, they're just completely overwhelmed and sort of like paralyzed. What I tell them is bring a list of everything that you're doing, literally everything that you're doing, bring a list of everything you're doing to our next meeting, and we're going to cross some stuff off.
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll always find like 3 things like, "Stop doing that shit. We're not doing that anymore." Like, "I don't know why. Don't worry. I'll take care of that one." It's like, and they feel so much better just because it helps you figure out like what matters, what doesn't matter,
Mhm.
and what's important.
And do, sorry, do you find that or use that as like a training moment to help them start to think of
Yeah.
like how are you thinking about this? How are you prioritizing? How are you going to change this in the future? Like that sort of thing. Is it like a teaching moment, a coaching moment?
Yeah. And also like, sometimes you just got to step back and think about as people move through their careers from sort of IC to managers, to higher management, they need to learn the skill of consistently evaluating the work. And tend to fall into a trap a lot of times of like, I'm going to keep doing everything that I've always been doing and then just keep stacking on. And that doesn't work because times change, the market changes, the buyer changes, your team changes, and you get more information about like what works and doesn't work. And so you should be constantly sort of reevaluating that. And so your time is finite. So you have to optimize for your time. And so,
Mhm.
I do that constantly. Like I'm not gonna I don't do I won't say what I don't like doing process stuff. So I don't
Mhm.
really do a whole lot of process stuff anymore. Number one, it sucks my energy. I'm really
Yeah.
not that good at it. And so I have other people on the team do all of that. So I can spend my time and energy being effective in other ways. And other people need to think about that too. Like if they are really struggling to do, let's say, automated email campaigns, and because they can't get the technology right, well, go and hire someone that's an expert in Marketo, and
Mhm.
help you set up stuff and teach you, and then you can get going on it. But really sort of like staying mired in the weeds and all the stuff flying at your face, that's going to overwhelm anybody. And so that is a skill you have to learn to adapt and grow.
So you mentioned like process stuff isn't your jam, doesn't give you energy.
Hate
What
it.
does?
I like creativity and problem solving. And so I really love sort of evaluating a problem and coming up with a unique solution to it. And honestly, I don't really create anything from scratch. It's more about looking at what's out there and then figuring out something like one of the things that I see or learn or read about and taking that as a tactic to try to band-aid the problem or try something or get a growth vector or something. That's really my favorite. My original the first thing I did was work at an advertising agency, and I wasn't in a creative role, but I was just in the creative, thinking, and we talked about it all the time. And I find that sort of that skill is in marketing orgs is pretty few and far between now. So it's one
Mhm.
that I get to exercise a lot, and it's really fun.
Yep. In at marketing space, so I'm hearing is like there's a bit of finding your zone of genius, finding where you're most effective, and then working inside the organization to do majority of your work there. Of course, I think that's potentially a little easier the higher up you go.
Yeah.
As you're lower level, it's like, no, we hired you to do this thing, do this thing.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
you picked the job. You didn't like
yeah, that's true.
force to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I guess that's a good call. So there's a good chance. You talk a lot about pivoting, like when you need to pivot. We talked about need to change and adapt, and also like stay the course. So like, what are some things that someone needs to look at? Like maybe it's time to pivot off of and go a different direction versus hey, it's just time to stay the course and like keep rowing.
Well, I have lots of friends in marketing right now, and the number one thing that I tell them when they tell me they hate their job is like, too bad, because the market sucks. So you need to
Yeah.
stick it out until you find another job. Like it's rough, right? So if you're really not enjoying the work that you're doing, I would say that you stick it out and do your best where you are, looking for the next opportunity, growing a skill in another area, asking your current company to be on a project that maybe is like more attuned to what you end up wanting to do. If you're doing good work and you're just not happy in your current role, the company wants to keep you because good talent is good talent. So, if you're consistently getting high performance ratings, but maybe the team isn't right that you're on, you can raise your hand, most likely move to another role. So, I would say in this environment, like try to keep a job.
Yeah,
Try
that's
not to
good advice.
go
Yeah.
unemployed, but work, spend the extra time that you have. Maybe it's outside of your 9 to 5. Maybe you, instead of scrolling or watching Love Story, which I also watch, you learn a new skill and then try to apply that skill. That's really how you're going to succeed right now. It's tough. It's a tough market.
I'm gonna pivot toward the end here to we touched on AI. You talk about you guys are an AI company now. I've pivoted to that. when I see or have or work with companies that are integrating AI, whatever that means to their company,
Yeah.
which means a variety of things, as it usually does, it comes down to, in my estimation, it's that human component. It's the human element of actually using it and how to use it and where is it going to be most effective. And so what have you found to maybe be effective or some lessons learned as you guys made this AI adaptation when it comes to like the human element of human AI integration?
Yeah. So our AI product is built on our data foundation. And there's like a human in the loop. So that I hate about AI products that are mostly launched today is that they're just razzle dazzle with no substance. And once you start digging into them, they throw all kinds of errors, and it doesn't actually work. So you'll see marketers all the time talking about how are using AI to change their workflow, and then a few weeks later they'll be like, "Oops, that didn't really pan out like I thought." There are some things
Yeah.
that work, but by and large, right now, we haven't seen dramatic replacement of workflows with AI products in the marketing space. The difference is if you can base an agentic solution on top of data that is high quality, human in the loop to ensure quality. And so that the agentic solution is referencing that high quality data.
You've built something real: the career, the title, the business, maybe all three. But ever feel simultaneously overwhelmed and bored? Like your calendar is full, your responsibilities keep growing, and yet somewhere deep down, you know you're no longer expanding. That's the strange reality for a lot of high performers. Not failing, not collapsing, just slowly settling for less than they're actually capable of. Because eventually, talent stops being the issue. The real problem is this: nobody in your life is challenging you at the level you actually operate. I spent years sitting across from executives and owners who had every reason to be satisfied and helping them name what they were actually hungry for. A vision call is one focused conversation, no pitch, no program, just clarity on who you're becoming, what you really want next, and what's standing in your way. You don't need more motivation. You need someone who can see what you can't yet. Go to seanpatton.me/vision. That's seanpatton.me/vision and book your call today, because the life you're capable of isn't going to wait forever.
That's verified, then you have a much better outcome. So lots of AI solutions are sort of based on random searches on the internet that aren't verified or not human in the loop. And so you'll get a crappy output. And so what I found sort of is both with AI products and then also AI optimization and at work, you have to sort of keep that human in the loop to verify quality consistently to make sure you're getting the output that's desired. You know, I think AI solutions in general are here to stay for better or for worse. And so making sure that we're using them in a way that gets us to where we want to be versus just doing them for the purpose of doing them and saying that we're doing is how we want to go. There's folks right now sitting in seats and their bosses are saying, you need to be using AI. And they're just doing random things with AI with no check and no verified outcome. And just like, that middle manager or that new to the work environment person that has a long list and they're just doing randomly 25 different things. You just can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not benefiting anybody. You're not benefiting yourself. You're not benefiting the company. And at the end of the day, your company wants you to spend every waking hour generating growth.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that the work that you're doing is doing that.
Yeah, I think that and tell me if you're seeing this too, or your take is like, what I'm hearing there is that like, if you look at AI as a way to make the people that you do have, the humans in the loop, even better, like take the humans to a new level, that seems to be successful. What I see with other companies is that they're what they're really looking for is replacement. And what I have seen with, companies, I have one company in particular, like, right, this was maybe 6 months ago too. So like on onboarding for a new SaaS product, and like said, "Oh, AI can onboard now." And so they got rid of half the onboarding team, and all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, but to your point, actually this can't do everything that the humans can do." And all of a sudden their time from close to onboarding a new client went from 2 weeks to 8, and it's like, and then you've got half your team trying to make up for all of that stuff with new processes, and it imploded because of this rush to sort of replace immediately as opposed to enhance what's currently available. And I'm wondering if you've seen that play out in your experience with you or your colleagues as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a non-work example. We're calling into our mortgage company to verify payment from someone of a property that we own that they're buying, whatever. And we are on the phone with an AI agent, and we're talking about like a $10,000 check. And so AI agent for like 20 minutes, you can imagine how we feel about this mortgage company at this point. And I will not choose them going forward. And they don't have that information. They have no idea that the level of dissatisfaction has happened. And so like the corollary to work is that you need to make sure that you're monitoring early signals for dissatisfaction, dysfunction, poor business outcomes. Because you may not really get the true signal till later, but doing just randomly deploying your AI and be like, hey, we have the great signal that we no longer have a person answering the phone, that you're missing the final outcome, which is churning a customer that was previously talking to that person. So no amount of AI agent replacing your customer service agent is going to replace the interest payment that you're going to get from me paying this mortgage company, right? So it's like we're all in a rush, but make sure that you're measuring and understanding the final outcome of your metrics.
I really resonate with that. And, I'm actually in the process of this, kind of redoing my AI integration in my own business when it comes to coaching and executive coaching and training. And I'm part of this larger firm. So there's this extra level of like, they've got their own stuff that software integrate with, and like some of it they want in, want out. I'm like an entrepreneur, solo entrepreneur who's like trying to develop this, but also having to interact with a larger company structure. And so as I'm designing this right now, one of the things I'm constantly considering is like my executive assistant. I want it to enhance what she can do. And then when it comes to actually interacting with my clients or my prospects or leads, like I want that to be a human being enhanced by AI, whose abilities and decisions are enhanced by AI. Hey, you should work with me and, to explore meta performance and become the greatest version of yourself. And, here's a robot with some automations. It's just like, to your point, it's like not, those things don't align. And I think people are getting even more sensitive to that. And it'll be interesting to see in the future if there's a turning point where like AI gets so good that people don't care. But I kind of suspect, especially when it comes to things that feel personal, like your money, like your development, like your family, you're like, I don't want to talk to an AI robot about my kids' health problems,
No.
So,
and honestly, if I'm doing a deal with a company and they want to, start qualifying me with an agent, like that's probably a no too. I mean, it may not be a no immediately, but if my alternative is to talk to a person that's educated and understands, has 25 years of experience in the insurance industry, then like that seems like a conversation I'd prefer. And that would change maybe my buying opinion. I think there's a place for AI agents, but you got to be careful about the population that you're using them on. And definitely it's not your most important stuff. That's still human led.
Yeah. As we wrap here, Marcy, I guess, you talked about the change you've gone through as a leader, and in all these different roles and different types of companies. We keep coming back to that, right? And now we've talked even more about how we're integrating robots into what we're doing. So as you look back and out there, and you're talking about like, you're just, you're the Gen Xer trying to, how do I actually feel about myself? I'm trying to like, I have your own identity, and I relate so hard to a lot of that. So if you go back and you would tell, yourself, you said 26 years ago coming out of college, like about the advice to give them as they went into this journey, this professional journey, this leadership journey, what advice would you give Marcy?
I've been thinking about this a lot because I have a plan for someone coming out of college. I think it could potentially be easier than when I came out of college because the need is so high for a builder and a learner and someone that embraces AI. And so here's what every company is screaming about hiring AI first people. So this is what I would do if I was coming out of college. I would attack it like an ABM play. So I would make a list of my top 50 companies that I want to work at, make another column with all the contacts at those companies that could potentially have a job for me, either now or in the future. And then I would start building an AI agent for a problem that they're likely to have. And you can build the same agent for many of these different same companies. So like a competitive intelligence agent, for example. And I would write out step by step how I include files so they can test it, copy and paste it into whatever tech they're using. And then I would start sending it to these folks and be like, oh, here's a competitive agent I built for you. And it will do X, Y, and Z, name their competitors. You can easily figure that out. And then once they respond to you, offer that you will go build it for them on contract. And so you have many shots on the board to nail a contract offer with this agent that you've already built. You've already showed that you understand AI. You're willing to learn. You're willing to build. willing to add value to their company for something they probably desperately need on their bench. Get in as a contractor, crush it. You're going to have to work longer hours than 9 to 5. You're going to have to be on top of your list of priorities. You're going to deliver on those priorities. But then that's your most likely path to an FTE role. That's how I would do it.
Man, I love that. I love that step by step. This is how you're going to do it. I hope that there's maybe some young people listening to this or people with young people in their families that they can just like splice that and send it to them, because that is super powerful. Marcy, this has been super fun. I appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing all your wisdom with us today.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for being a part of the No Limit Leadership family. This isn't just a podcast. We're building a movement of no limit leaders driven to unlock our greatness and lead the world forward. If this made you think or gave you something useful, please, 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 right now, go hit follow and then share it with one leader you believe in. Challenge limits, develop leaders, fuel greatness.